Recorded in Little Italy, Louisiana. Welcome to Pinstripe Alley, the official Mobcast with A.P. Fanini.
Ladies and gentlemen, made men and wise guys alike, welcome to the Pinstripe Alley, official Mobcast with me, A.P. Fanini. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and let me tell you, you clicked on the Mobcast so you know what this video is, or this episode is going to be about. Video. It's probably going to be a video. It's probably going to be YouTube. Anyway, that is so inconsequential to what we're talking about. The Many Saints of Newark, David Chase's creation, the prequel to The Sopranos. This movie, well, first, Jesus, I'm about to jump like face first into this, but first, as always, make it quick. Thank you guys so much for purchasing my book, The Gatekeepers, Part 1 and 2. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You guys have continued to give me feedback on it, and actually, I'm going to be honest, I really haven't had a whole lot of bad feedback on the book, you know? Maybe a typo here and there, but nothing like about the story or anything, and I am very grateful for that. I'm sure it's, you know, it won't be everyone's cup of tea, but it seems to be a lot of people. So for those of you who are just buying the book and leaving reviews, you've left so many. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting this channel. This entire channel is, you know, to give you guys a Mobcast, and really it's enjoyable, but also to also get my book out there too, because that is really my main focus. But thank you guys so much for that who've been supporting me, and I will keep you posted on everything that happens, including the website, including the upcoming audiobook, which I've been working on, and also any upcoming, actually I will say merchandise, because that's on the way too. And for those of you who do enjoy, who like the cover of the book and other artwork like it, I'll be sure to have that on the merchandise as well. A lot of good things are coming, so thank you guys again. So anyway, jumping back to what we were talking about earlier, the Many Saints of Newark. I personally, as a Sopranos fan, I'm going to give you the rating first for this movie, and then I'm going to tell you why I gave it. I thought very tediously. I went through I hopped on many trains of thought for this, and went around in circles, because I want to give this movie a fair shot, but I also want to critique it as a movie and as a piece of, you know, David Chase's legacy, because as it was advertised as a Sopranos story, The Many Saints of Newark, a Sopranos story. And so with that attachment to it, not being its own standalone movie, fans are going to expect this movie to have 110% put into it, especially that we've waited since 2007 we never thought we'd ever see anything regarding The Sopranos again, ever. After the finale in 2007, when a billion TVs, not really a billion, but you know, a large number, an astronomical amount of people went ape shit because the screen went black and nobody knows what happened to Tony or his family. And if that's a spoiler, I apologize, but for fuck's sake, watch The Sopranos. Anyway, so this movie was supposed to be the groundwork, so to speak, for the entire series that David Chase made back in 1999. And unfortunately, James Gandolfini could not be in the movie because he has since passed, rest his soul. But his son, who I believe did a great job for someone who has not been in the industry or been an actor. I don't think I've ever seen Michael Gandolfini in anything else. So for someone who has a really shallow IMDb page, I think he did great. And also, you would have to be just completely void of sense to realize that Michael Gandolfini looks almost like identical to James, his father. So he really had that going for him, you know, to really fill in any gaps I feel that he had because I was really just enamored at how much this kid looks like his father. And that was great. And the fact that he stepped into the role, I respect him for that. I mean, it's almost like he wanted to pick up his father's legacy and carry it a step further, and I think he did a great job with that. So hats off to Michael Gandolfini. So with that being said, it genuinely revolves around the life of Dickie Moltisanti. Now, for those of you who have watched The Sopranos, you obviously know who Christopher Moltisanti is. He was the protege. He was the nephew of Tony Soprano. He was the hopeful heir to Tony's throne after he passed away. And, since I gave that spoiler away earlier, I'm not going to say anything more than that. But I will say that Christopher was a very prominent character. Look at me. Why am I talking through my nose? He's a prominent character in the show. And so one of my favorite characters. So watching Dickie Moltisanti, who did a phenomenal job, by the way. Actor Alessandro Nivola did a phenomenal job as Dickie Moltisanti. Very likable character, very congenial. I followed his every move throughout that. Like he definitely had me from his very first appearance in the movie. So I did enjoy that. Great acting from them. Ray Liotta was in it. Of course, Ray Liotta is always going to deliver such a. He's always going to do his all, and his all is always, in this movie especially, very colorful. He can definitely do drama. In this movie, I would say he wasn't so much in that role as he was as Henry Hill, so it's definitely not comparable there. I know a lot of people really compare those two together, or are going to, because I think that's probably the last true memorable mob movie that Ray Liotta was in was Goodfellas. So I think he did a good job in the movie. There were a couple things about it, and I'm just going to say about this movie, there are going to be spoilers about this movie, not about The Sopranos, but definitely about this movie. And so in saying that, from this point on, Ray Liotta played two different characters in this movie. He played Salvatore, or Hollywood Dick. He played Hollywood Dick, and he played Dickie Moltisanti's father. And he also played Dickie Moltisanti's uncle, who was in prison, named Sal. So the premise of the movie is that we're coming to a time in history when things are becoming very hostile and full of unrest. So we have already heard about the unrest days from Paulie. He mentions them. I can't remember right at what season. That's terrible. But he definitely mentions the unrest whenever he's recollecting about the times before. And so this is right around that time. In this movie, they definitely step out with an artful hand. They try their best to basically put you in a position to understand the times a lot better through the graphic visualization and the music that they chose for it. And there was a lot of spoken word poetry in the background during some of the scenes, and you'll understand why in a minute. I'll get to that. But they definitely wanted to take your senses for a ride. They wanted to put you right there in the moment, and I definitely respect that. I feel like I myself try to envelop myself in that tactic of my craft as well, and that's why I love David Chase so much. I know that's probably very cliche to say that I love him since I'm such a fan of The Sopranos, but I mean, how can you not be, right, if you watch the show? So they did a good job with that. The characters did a great job. I will say, with saying that Dickie Moltisanti was great, John Bernthal, who I think is also a great actor, he was in the Netflix's The Punisher, and he was in The Walking Dead. So, I think that everything he's been in has been great, and I think he was a great addition as Tony Soprano's father, Johnny Boy Soprano. However, for me, I don't think that they utilized John Bernthal as much as they could have. And I know that the movie was, it surrounded, Dickie Moltisanti's life, but I feel like they could have done a lot more with this, this actor, this character. But for what it's worth, he definitely looks the role. He definitely, for the parts that he had, he did great. He had there was a couple times that, to be honest with you, every time he was on camera, or the majority of the time, he got a smile or a laugh, because he always did something like when he was in court, and his wife, Tony's mom, Livia, who was played by Vera Farmiga, did a great job. She's like, when I say a great job, I mean she did a phenomenal job playing Livia Soprano, as to what we have seen, in contrast to the character from the actual Sopranos TV show. I mean, they did a phenomenal job with her makeup, the way she dressed, her mannerisms, her voice. Excellent acting. And in that scene, she's crying loudly, as Livia definitely would do, making a scene, because they just sentenced, the court says he was in court and she's in the back. They just sentenced Johnny Boy to, I think, 3 years in prison. And while he's in, he's just sitting there listening to the sentence, and she's crying loudly. And like, instead of, I don't know, there was a moment where like he turns back, the camera's right in front of his face, and he just rolls his eyes like, Jesus Christ, like, really? I don't know. I thought it was hilarious. It's like the look on his face, like, I'm the one getting the sentence here, and you're the one causing a ruckus. All I could hear whenever she said that, I could hear Syl in my head going, always with the scenarios, like, it was fucking hilarious. I'm not going to lie. And so those moments, and then like when Tony threw his speakers out the window, priceless. So I think he did a good job, not utilized as much as he could have been, but whatever. Michael Gandolfini playing young Tony Soprano. I did say that I think he did a great job for someone who started off. However, I and fellow author Bonnie Taylor, we had this conversation. Michael Gandolfini did a great job as an actor in the movie, for what, for the role he was given, for the lines, for the look, everything. But the way that Tony Soprano is portrayed in the show is someone who is very like playful. Someone who, I mean, not so much play. I mean, he'll still, blow somebody's brains out on point, but he's also somebody who is, he's eccentric to avoid. It's almost as if like he was one of those people. They say that he was, even in the movie of The Many Saints of Newark, they're doing all these personality tests and all this other stuff, and they're like, yo, he's a leader. He's this. We found that he's very intelligent, but he doesn't give those qualities off very well. He doesn't portray that persona very well of someone who's a leader in this movie. I mean, he definitely plays the role of a kid very well, but he definitely doesn't show these attributes that they're trying to label him with in the Sopranos show and even in this movie. But other than that, I know that's a very important thing, but like I said, still revolved around Dicky Moltisanti, the actor. So he did a great job through all of the show. He definitely, his future wife Carmela was in the show. She did the actress did a great job. Paulie Walnut, all these characters. A character named Buddha, Joey Diaz, who for those of you who don't know who Joey Diaz is, do yourself a favor and definitely check that guy out. I mean YouTube videos, stand at everything. He's a storyteller. He's a funny guy. He's just great. So like check him out when you guys get a chance. A lot of different people, portrayed younger versions of the older versions of the show. People that I have seen before and some that I have never seen. One of the biggest problems that I've heard that people have been like just furious about, or well, no, I'm going to say it. Like I say furious because I wouldn't see as many comments or tweet. Like they literally blow it up in every Sopranos or any mob group that you see. They're all pissed off that wasn't really Silvio Dante's hair in the show. They're angry because it was a wig the whole time. Listen, I understand that bothers a lot of people, but I'm just gonna number one, it's the show. He has the ability to retcon that. It doesn't change a lot other than the fact that he had a toupee. Secondly, how could you look at that huge, like semi sentient animal that was on his head every time he was in front of the camera and not say to yourself, that is fake as shit. Even in some of the outtakes, he's standing there and like, they go, Jesus, Steven Van Zandt, they're like, Jesus, Steve, your wig is super puffy today. They had to fix it. Dude, that hair looked ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, I don't think it looked bad on Syl, but I mean, let's be honest. You know, for him to come and say, all right, this hair is ridiculous. Everybody knows it. I'm going to change it. I feel like I've spent way too much time trying to justify the actions here. Not to say that he's completely free of sin, but for Christ's sake, it's a toupee. I'm moving on. So should you. So anyway, let's see. A lot of the characters, and one of my personal gripes, was that a lot of the older characters, which were really the thing that brought people in and the grabbers of the trailers, were the people from the earlier episodes of or the entirety of the episode. Some of the people had, you know, died along the way, but that was the grabber. That was that was the golden ticket for people. That's when they saw that, they're like, wow, we're going to see Paulie Walnuts, and we're going to see Big Pussy, because Big Pussy was in the trailer. And we're going to see, you know, Johnny Soprano. We're going to see, you know, and they're all standing together when they're looking at the unrest, but you don't know they're looking at the unrest in the, you know, in the theatric trailer, but you think to yourself, oh, we're going to see the life, they're going to really do mob shit, for lack of a better words. It's going to be some real hardcore mob shit. I was let down by that as well, and I will get to that. But you don't see these characters as often. You see them in one scene. You see them all get together and like hold this guy down and like, you know, drill his teeth out of his face. But that's it. Like, and you see a couple scenes where Paulie is painting his nails. He's not painting them, but he's polishing his nails at the table. You know. I mean, he's sitting there with actual, I mean, if I was standing from a distance, it would look like he was painting his nails. I don't know. They try to take these cliches and these things and just go fucking overboard, you know? Syl's actor, Paulie's actor was okay. I have nothing against him. Like I said, we didn't have a lot of space and we didn't have a lot of area to see just how good their acting chops were. So, you know, the guy that played Paulie Walnuts, you know, did a good job. Billy Magnuson, seen him before. He did a pretty good job for what we've seen. Silvio's character, I think he did a good job. Some people had a problem with it. Not so much me. John Magaro, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He played Silvio Dante. I think he did a good job. Some people say that his mannerisms were a little overboard. Whatever. Tomato. That's your opinion. And, you know, let's see. Leslie Odom Jr., he played Harold in the movie. And Harold was kind of like the friend turned antagonist. He was a male he was an African-American male, and he was actually, you know, he was on business terms with Dickie Moltisanti. You know, they did a little business together. The rest of the family was very reluctant that they were doing business with Harold and his family. But, you know, Dickie, at the end of the day, you could really tell that when it came to money, Dickie was willing to overstep anything, and he didn't give a shit at the end of the day. If you really pay attention to his character, the things that he did, he definitely seemed to have a moral compass, and he definitely had the personality of someone who had a moral compass. But when he did there's two things he did in the movie that you would think that were completely out of character for somebody like this. But like, these two things to me really bring him full circle as a mobster. And it brings us as the audience back to reality and reminds us, hey, even though we like this character, even though he's sitting around palling around with Anthony, little Tony Soprano, even though they're having, you know, he's still a mobster. He's still a murderer. And in the movie, you know, when the beginning, you know, his father comes over, he's got this girl from Italy that he's brought with him, and she's going to learn to, you know, speak English and so on and so forth. She's really pretty, actually. Her name is Michaela De Rossi, and she played a character named Giuseppina. forgive me. I'm sorry. Please do not shower me with emails about bad pronunciation. I apologize. I know I should have seen the phonetic spelling, but whatever. But she did a good job. But upon their meeting, these two, Dickie and his father's new younger girlfriend, who is, like I said, very pretty, very attractive. They immediately, they have like a connection. Well, the I say connection. I'll say it like this: you as the audience know what's going on. I'll say it like that. And they make small talk, and they, this and that. And one night, he realizes that his father has slapped the Italian girl and thrown her down the stairs. Throws her down the stairs. We see that as the audience. He confronts him about it in his car. He gets in the car with him. He said he's going to the store. And confronting him about it turns into an argument. And the argument turns into Dickie taking his father's head and smashing his face into the steering wheel until he's dead. So after this happens, there's a point where he's driving his dead father around in the passenger seat with a bloody fucking head, and he's just driving his car, and then he takes his father to this place, and he just drops him on the floor, covers him in gasoline, lights a book of matches, throws it on the body, it erupts in flames, burns his father's body, burns down the fucking place, and he walks off like it's nothing. And you as the audience know that his next move is gonna be, he's going for Giuseppina. He's going for this girl. He makes her his gumar, which in mafia terms is the side woman. The gumar. It's called a lot of things. Gumar, comer. It's a lot of different things. Anyway, she's the side girl. And the side girl, he is putting her in an apartment, sending her all these giving her money. He's like doing all and he's a married man, by the way. He's a married man with kids. So this movie definitely gives us a lot of backstory from Dickie's point of view. We knew that he had women on the side because Tony even mentions that. I know that is definitely season 6. Or is it season 5? No, it's definitely season 5. Listen to me. It's season 5 of The Sopranos. During the time that Tony, well, never mind. Spoilers. Anyway, he mentions that there's always women on the side. So this girl she turns out to be a problem. And here's where I have one of the biggest problems with this movie, is that there is a huge, huge war that I feel like would have been waged had some of the actions in this movie happened truly according to, the mob or whatever. I know this is the Jersey mob, which, they were a smaller family, but they still committed their share of crimes. But I don't see how that some of the shootings, some of the characters were shot at, killed, so on and so forth. When they killed Buddha, the character Joey Diaz, he had his head blown, like the whole top blown clean off, right? With I assume it's a shotty, because I feel like only a shotty or a very high powered rifle could do that. But even then, it was definitely a shotty. What the fuck am I saying? He blew the top of his head off, and in the event of this happening, there should have been more backlash. There should have been more of an effort from both of these sides, and for me to really go over this movie in deep detail would really take longer than the time I have allotted to make a Mobcast, because the plot is all over the place, which is another gripe that I have. Even with it centered around Dickie Moltisanti, they still try to add these tidbits of Tony's life as a child, which I appreciate, but even they're not so much tidbits because they involve them so much into the central plot of the story that I feel like it turns it into like this roller coaster of emotions, and sometimes they don't go together that well, and you're trying to figure out and I get the ending of the movie. You see that old habits die hard, or you see that right there when he's standing in front of his uncle's casket. But the thing is it just wasn't what the mob would do. there would be such a backlash amongst anybody if one of their own was killed, especially right in front of them in a gunfight. That killing, when, I don't know. But as far as that goes, that was a gripe that I had about it. And I hope at this point, hopefully by now, you see why I decided to give this movie, a 6.5. I am a huge Sopranos fan. And I would love to give this movie a solid 10. But I can't because of things like that. Even Michael Franzese, and this coming from, I know I mention this guy a lot, but I'm just a huge fan of him. And his word has definitely got a billion tons of weight to it because he was a copper regime in the Colombo family. So, I mean, his opinion has a little bit more than opinion standards. And even he said it was all over the place, but like he really said it failed on all accounts. So I can't say it failed on every account because I did find it, entertaining in a lot of ways. But I do see, like, he sees the crevices and cracks of things there, and, the attitudes and the voices or the mannerisms, he sees that. So if it fell short there, I can definitely see why with him, because I also agree they would have definitely done more. You overstep your boundaries and kill some man right in front of your family. Also, Harold, the man that's apparently the balance to Dickie in this movie, like the negative to the positive, he manages to sleep with Dickie's Kumar, and this causes Dickie to do the second thing that I was mentioning earlier, which definitely snaps us back to reality, is after this she confesses to him on the beach that she has slept with Harold. He loses it right there. Like, there is no talking, no, he drags her out to the water. He drags her from the sand to the water, holds her under, and drowns her, and then sits on the beach and watches her body be carried away with the waves. Definitely reminding us that Dickie might be in the mob. Might be, maybe. I don't know. So, the mother in the movie that played Livia's character is always going to be very, very, very negative, very condescending to everyone she talks to, very difficult, and she definitely flipped it well in this movie. I really think she could have been a little bit more tenacious towards Tony, because Tony's flashbacks in The Sopranos were definitely not the same. Or they were similar, but like I feel like she was a lot more like vindictive and even psychotic in some points compared to her roles with Tony in this. So they could have shown more of that, but I'll actually give that a pass, considering the fact that we said that it was revolving Chris's father, Dickie, but I feel like if you're going to involve it also, you definitely need to put a little bit more into it. I don't know. I think, though, overall, she did a good job as Livia, like I said earlier. But those types of attributes and traits could have definitely been projected a little bit heavier, considering the fact that, spoiler alert, she tried to stab his fucking eye as a kid. So there's that. Yeah, so she did well, like I said, covered John Bernthal, great acting. So I'm gonna get to the meat and potatoes. I'm gonna get to what I feel like might have been the entire point of the movie. At the point where Dickie Moltisanti is, grabbing these trays out of the back of his car, which was mentioned in The Sopranos, while he's grabbing them out, someone drives by and they shoot him. Just shoot him dead. Hits the ground, falls over, bleeds out, dies. Okay? So there goes our, quote, main protagonist in the movie. So he's on the ground. The next scene, you see a younger version of Junior Soprano, which is Corrado Soprano, Tony Soprano's uncle. You see him run over. And by the way, this also is the context that's very important. Earlier in the movie, you really get this very, I don't know, just second banana, if you will, second banana vibe from Junior Soprano, which is understandable because that certainly reflects the way he is in the later shows. But we don't realize exactly just how far that Corrado Soprano is willing to go, how far Tony's uncle is willing to go whenever he feels like his pride has really been stepped on, you know? And he falls over at some point, you know, and he hurts his leg in the movie, and they're trying to help him up, and he's like in a lot of pain, and Dickie just laughs and laughs and laughs about it, and they finally help him up. And then, you know, later in the movie, you see Junior again, and he mentions it again. It's really eating away at him, right? This has been bothering him. So right after he dies, you see him walking up to he's in the snow, and he walks up to this payphone, and he walks in, and it's ringing, and he answers it. And as this is what I thought he was just going and getting the info, you know, hearing that Dickie was dead. But when he answered the phone, you heard a voice go, "It's done." And then he hung the phone up, implying that he is the one who put the hit out on Dickie Moltisanti, a man in his own family. Not uncommon at all in the mob, of course, but it definitely puts some context to Junior Soprano. Number one, we know exactly why, or mostly why, he is the way that he is. And we know that he's been harboring the secret that he is the one who murdered Dickie Moltisanti, Christopher's father. And you can also tell, especially in the beginning episodes, which I'm pretty sure, if this was some kind of canon that he wrote previously, then kudos for that, but I sincerely doubt it. But we do see in the early episodes that Corrado does indeed not like Christopher Soprano at all. In fact, he wants to have him killed. Now, Christopher did, you know what? God, I just cannot get out of the spoiler territory. Anyway, so the bottom line is that we find out, and number two, most importantly, we already knew that Junior was a piece of shit, but now he has reached a level of shit that, like, we didn't know even existed, you know? Like, he overstepped and went from, like, you know, scumbag to, like, shitbag in, like, a matter of seconds. And I know personally when I was watching that, my first words were, "That motherfucker." That's exactly what I said when I saw him, and they basically, you know, unveiled the fact that Junior is the one that had Christopher Moltisanti's father, Dickie, murdered right there by his car. It explains a lot. It definitely does as far as the TV show goes. And I think that closer really redeemed a lot of the stuff in the movie. It's hard to redeem, you know, time in the movie. It's hard for one scene to redeem like an hour's worth of stuff, but it really did a lot. And I'm saying that as a Sopranos fan, probably not as, for those who just saw the movie for whatever reason, which is fine. You wanted to watch the movie and maybe hopefully it would get you into the show, or maybe you were just curious, whatever. You were probably disappointed, and that's okay. Especially with that part, because it didn't mean shit to you. But for Sopranos fans, it blew our minds. It made us angry and like flabbergasted all in one sitting. So, like I said, definitely explained a lot. And I think it was great at the end of the movie. Somebody said they didn't see this, and if I'm wrong, whatever. But if I'm not mistaken, like this has to be true, because I mean, Jesus, they made it blatant. He put his hand into his uncle's casket after he went to his funeral. Tony, young Tony, Michael Gandolfini's character, he put his hand in the casket and did this pinky swear with his uncle. And what he was really doing was wrapping his pinky around his uncle's gold ring to take it. That's what I saw. I mean, if that's got to be what he was doing. If not, I mean, whatever. But it definitely correlates to an entire scene with Tony and Dickie earlier, where Dickie Moltisanti said to him, he was like, "I want to give you these speakers," and they were brand new speakers that, you know, quote, fell off a truck. And Tony said to him, you know, "This is stealing. I don't want anything to do with this." And he says, "Listen, this is something you got to do. You know, sometimes in life you don't have to be a thief. You just say, I'm going to steal once and never do it again." And then here he is at his own uncle's funeral, who he had this conversation with, and he's stealing his jewelry right out of the casket. I think that was great, and it, like the way I portrayed it. So I hope that's what it was. I'll definitely, I'll definitely admit to being wrong about that, but until I'm proven otherwise, that's what I'm going with. So yeah. So all in all, I'm definitely leaving out some very key details, obviously, because I can't put all of those things. And besides, me trying to translate, those parts of the movie into speech whenever they're specifically made for viewing is ridiculous. But I will say that the acting and the locations, I think the camera work was good. I definitely I take those things into account as well as camera work. I definitely feel like that that affects the movie maybe even more than the acting. Definitely more than the acting in some scenes when they're not even speaking. But it definitely affects a lot, and they did great with that. It definitely had that the camera was very aerodynamic the way it was in The Sopranos. Like they chose a lot of, I don't want to say awkward or bizarre, but like definitely these weird distances and angles that they used, especially when they were having maybe a conversation or when there's just a period where they're trying to reflect. They did a lot of that in the movie. I thought that was great. They had a lot of scenes with the civil rights uprising, and a lot of places that it showed. They showed what would happen whenever there was an uprising from the black community during that time, and how the streets were very unpredictable, at the time, and that part of the city. It was in New Jersey, and close to or about where the original Sopranos crew kind of situated themselves as a family. But the city, the scenes, where they were bringing or incorporating the spoken word poetry along with the dramatic music and the showings of violence and looting and so on and so forth. I think they did a good job with that. I think that was a definite rattling of the senses there too. Definitely had me encompassed in watching it. I thought the score with for that was good. Not the score, but the music that they chose. And I want to say too, speaking of those scenes and the set and everywhere, it was so breathtaking. It was good to see Satriale's like in such a different light. Satriale's being the meat store, from The Sopranos, the meat and sandwich shop. It was really, really cool to see that. It was cool to see those things brought back. Satriale's, to see a lot of the older crew, some of them we wouldn't see before. Jackie Aprile, who's in The Sopranos, as the boss when the show begins. You see the young version of him, and and you see Tony rob an ice cream truck and give ice cream to the local kids. I mean, I can see Tony doing that, as a kid before he gets like fully corrupted and I guess kills his first man, which I'm sure is quite a transition into a different chapter of life. But yeah, so all in all, I think the 6.5 for this movie is certainly justified. Like I said, I don't put this, that on just any one person. I feel like, a lot of people in this movie acted their heart out. And you can definitely see that, and you can definitely be entertained by those scenes, and just everyone in the movie definitely. Yeah, I can't say that, like, other than the small things or the certain like technicalities that I mentioned earlier, I don't think that anyone in the movie did a bad job. Even like I said, even young Michael Gandolfini, I don't think he did a bad job either at all in any of this. It's just, there was a certain feel in the movie. There were certain parts of the script, maybe certain parts of the storyline, and some aspects of the character arcs that just weren't as compelling. And they didn't have that same feeling as The Sopranos did. And I know it's a movie, I know it's a prequel, but still, this was the experience that they were expecting. This is the experience that I was expecting. And I enjoyed, I am all for progression of a craft. I'm all for progression of a title, any kind of story's lore, or I'm not against retconning things, going back and changing it as long as it's not stupid and it doesn't ruin everything. So I'm not against any of that. I'm not. I like creativity in all forms, but I feel like creativity also has to be conducted by those who have a better grasp of the original product. Because if we're banking on having the movie be a hit, or having the movie be something that everyone's going to enjoy, you want to make something that's going to be entertaining through and through, and is going to have a constant. I mean, this is the first Sopranos movie. This was in theaters. This was a chance to give potential fans of the show a look into it. And like Michael Franzese said, like several articles have said, they did kind of miss the mark. They did. And for all the reasons I mentioned, like I said, that's why I didn't give it a low score below 5, because 5 being extremely average, or just being, average, just the bare minimum, just zero into the spectrum. So I gave it a 6 because I think it's a step above that and a little more, but that's as far as we go. But if you are a fan of The Sopranos, of course watch it. Of course watch it, because you want to have those nostalgic moments. You want to see, all of your favorite characters be young. I thought, for what it's worth, even though it was small parts of it, I did enjoy the time that I did see those characters. Some of them had small parts, Silvio and Paulie. I mean, they had parts in the movie. Silvio kills, a guy in the movie. I mean, they did a good job, and their scenes were entertaining. It just wasn't a lot of them, and some of it was directionless. But, that's just like I said, that's my opinion. All in all, watch the movie, especially if you're a fan. Definitely watch if you're a fan, just for the experience and just to see that those nostalgic things, and a lot of character love letters are in the movie too. And I'm not going to spoil those. The small things you have to look into as a fan. I think that you guys should be able to do that. And I'm a little late in making this, so I'm sure a majority of you have seen it. But for those of you who haven't, definitely give it a look. So anyway, that is kind of my look over of the Many Saints of Newark, and 6.5 across the board. So watch the movie. Before I go today, I wanted to encourage you guys to join my mailing list when you get a chance, and I'll leave that information in the comments section. It's my my AP Fanini mailing list for my books. I'm working on the 3rd book slowly but surely while I'm creating this audio book for you guys. I know, like, the truth is, I wasn't originally going to make the audio book, and I wasn't going to just step up and just do all of that. But someone did make a very good point to me the other day during a conversation, said that the majority of people now, they're either listening to podcasts while they work or clean, or whatever it is that they're doing, or projects or whatever. They enjoy podcasts on the way to work. They enjoy, and they enjoy audiobooks too. And if you're going to sell a book, for those who don't have time to sit down, and I understand you, I feel your pain, because there are times I don't even have time to sit down to write the book, to make the audiobook for you to read and listen to. I feel that. So an audiobook is something that's definitely going to be, very beneficial, for those who want to check the book out, and or those who've read it and just want it on audiobook. Because the truth is, it's going to be 110% of me through this entire thing. I'm voicing all the characters, I'm doing all of the I've for the first couple of chapters, or the first couple or 3 chapters that I have done, I've had a lot of fun with it, and I've enjoyed this, and I hope that reflects and your listening of it when it finally comes out. And it's coming soon, because like I am definitely determined in making this audiobook and getting it out there. It's definitely a milestone for me, but it's something I definitely want to overcome, and I want to do it for you guys. And also, like I said, the audiobook's coming. If you haven't checked it out yet, just recently, I just released a video of a Mob Gods video, Mob Gods, Hard Hitters of the American Mafia. And I have made another, speaking of Michael Francis, my third video was about him, and that's available now. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, go check it out. You will enjoy it. Probably my favorite video so far. Big whoop, surprise, right? Another video of Mob Gods is coming soon too. I am taking a small break from the Mob Gods videos. I'm going to bring you more podcasts, or whatever. I'm going to bring you more Mobcasts as often as I can. I'm going to try to give you one, like maybe one a week or one every week and a half. But like my main focus now is going to be to get this audiobook done, get it out there. I'm going to start a campaign soon, for the book itself. And for those of you who want to follow me on Twitter, just at AP Fanini, that's me. Also, my Facebook, I am active a lot on Facebook a lot of the time. It's just easier for me to get, things out there. It just has more options for, to communicate with people about the works and about their opinions about, mafia stuff. And so it's just easier at Facebook, facebook.com/AP Fanini. It's labeled AP Fanini author online. And so, go and check that out. Go and like that page if you haven't. Go and subscribe to my YouTube too, which is just AP Fanini. Go and, if you haven't already, click that bell so you guys can get updates and be notified anytime that I have a new video of Mob Gods or have a new podcast come out. And also the podcast, speaking of, I'm going to be using Anchor pretty soon to get my podcast out to several platforms. And I think that's a good thing because people have been asking me, am I on Spotify, I'm on Apple Music, I'll be on all that, okay? I'm going to be on all that, I promise. And the minute it comes out, the minute I get all those things out, I'm able to peddle it to them, I will let you guys know ASAP. I will put it everywhere because that is one of the biggest things that people have asked me about. And I have heard, I've listened, and I'm going to do something about it. So thank you guys for that. You will get more podcasts. So yeah, I think that is it for the Mobcast today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment, share the video. Give me a like, whatever. If you're watching this on YouTube, and if it's on Spotify, then disregard that because it sounded insane. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Have a phenomenal day. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or night, wherever you listen to this, and take care of yourself. Goodbye.